Hi everybody, welcome back to Project Happy Home. For those of you who are new here, I'm Tanya, a doctor, lawyer turned homeschool mom of 3 kids ages 10, 7, and 6. If you are interested in videos about secular homeschooling, raising a child with ADHD, and living a more essentialist lifestyle, you have come to the right place, so be sure to hit that subscribe button down below. In today's video, I'm happy to be doing a collaboration with my good friend Lisa over at Catholic Marathon Mom, and she is doing a collaboration entitled Self-Worth with 3 simple questions. Now, I will be linking Lisa's channel in the description box down below, as well as her playlist. The first question is pretty simple. It is, what is the best compliment you've received and why? The best compliment I've ever received is definitely from my kids when they reflect back to me words that I've used to them that affirm their importance and their self-worth. So when they tell me things like, I love you so much, like you are the light of my life, don't worry, I can help you with this. When they say these things back to me, those are my best compliments, because becoming a full-time mom to them, becoming a stay-at-home mom and a homeschooling mom at that, was a big decision in my life, especially after my extensive educational background. And when they reflect back to me those words of self-worth, those words of love and affirmation and confidence, that's when I feel the most complimented. That's when I feel all of that decision making, all of the different paths and turns and twists that have taken me to this place of being a full-time mom, that they're all worth it, because my kids will say things to me when they see me happy, when they see me distressed, when we're just cuddling on the couch, that are exact replicas of words that I have given to them, that I've fed into their souls. And that's when I feel like all of this was worth it, that I'm doing something right. Those words, the affirmation of my children, more than the affirmation of anybody else, is what matters the most to me. The second question is, when do you feel the best in your own body? This was a tough one for me, you guys, because I have not done a good job of taking care of my own body in quite a while. Now, the best time that I felt in my body was when I was pregnant and breastfeeding. And if my husband had been willing, I would have just been barefoot and pregnant forever, I think, because I know that hormones shift differently for different women in pregnancy. Some people hate that time in their lives. I totally respect that. That was not the case for me. I felt happier and more joyous, and everything evened out really well while I was pregnant every time. I felt glowing and alive and really present and rooted to the earth in a way that I normally don't feel. And so I missed that time. I really do. I think it was really good for my mental health. I co-slept with all my babies. All of that was healthy for me. And since I haven't had to carry a child consistently, I did the baby wearing thing and everything, but I haven't had to for the last 2 years or so. My youngest just turned 6. She's a pretty small 6, but still. For the last 2 years, I would say I stopped, all the baby wearing and the carrying and the cuddling and the kid on your hip constantly. And since then, I have done very little of anything to keep myself healthy and fit. So one of my plans for this fall going forward is to actually do that. And I'm really looking forward to it in one way. I'm not in another, but I have plans to walk with a good friend of mine that I made over Instagram, and she lives all the way up in Vermont. So we have a 5:15 plan, you guys. Ooh, I don't know about this, but either way, I have purchased for the very first time in my life a treadmill. I don't know much about treadmills. It's not an amazingly expensive one or anything. It's not incredibly inexpensive either, but it will fit in my closet, and I plan to walk on it every single day regardless of the weather, because that's my big complaint. I'm a big wimp about the weather. So I don't like walking when it's hot. I don't like walking when it's too cold. I have many things that I say that make me not do the exercise thing. So I feel like having one in my closet facing the window in there will be really, really beneficial, and will prevent me from making all the excuses about the weather that I have done for the last 2 decades or so in my I could be exercising life. Third question is, what is the most common negative thought you have that sort of just replays in your head that you can't get out of that loop? I think that for me, it is that I am a bad mom, or that I have made the wrong decision to be a stay-at-home mom. And those thoughts happen for me most frequently when I have had a bad day with the kids. When I have been more short with them than I would have liked. When I've been stern when I could have been kind. And not just stern, but kind of mean in that sternness, where I have been unyielding in a way that didn't improve our relationship. when I have snapped at people, or when I have shut a door harder than I could have, or when I have not taken that one extra minute it would have taken to just make them feel loved in a moment where they were in distress or needed me for whatever silly reason. Those days, I do tend to beat myself up a little bit and think you could have done this so much better. You could have been so much more gracious, so much more loving. You could have given them a good moment instead of a bad one. You had an opportunity there that you didn't take, as opposed to seeing this as an opportunity, you saw it as an interruption. I have a tendency to tell myself those things. And I would say that when I have really bad days, those are the days when I think, well, you gave up your career for no good reason. Now you're just bringing unhappiness into the life of your children. And I think that is untrue, right? I think that I do bring so much more goodness into all of our lives by being more present for them. I know exactly what it was like to work full time. I know exactly what it was like to have 3 small babies and come home at 6, rushing in through the door, letting my nanny go, having to make dinner, doing the bath time thing, reading to them, putting them to bed, and doing it all over again the next day. I know exactly what it was to see my kids awake for about 15 hours from Monday through, Friday. And I don't miss that. I know my children so much better now. I do, for myself. I'm not saying this is the same for every working mom, but for myself, I do more good by being home for my family than by not. And reflecting on the truth of that is really, really helpful when I fall into this negative thought pattern. The thing I tell my kids all the time is to be their own best friend. So when they start feeling negative about themselves, when they start feeling like, oh, I can't believe I did that or whatever, is to really listen to the words you're using in your head towards yourself, those punishing words, and to think, would you ever talk to your best friend that way? Would you ever talk to an acquaintance that way? No, your instinct would be to lift them up a little, right? To say okay, this thing happened. You're not this person. This one incident or this one day does not define who you are as a person. It doesn't define your intentions. It doesn't define your heart. Whatever the circumstances can be changed. I really believe in a growth mindset, and I believe in being kind to yourself. I think the more we can teach ourselves to be compassionate towards ourselves, the easier it is to be compassionate to other people. So I like to practice that. I think journaling it out is really helpful. Write out all the ugly, horrible things, the things you think, about yourself, about other people, about your children, and reflect on the truth of that. I used to have a friend who did truth journaling, and at some points in my life I've done that too on the hardest days, where you divide a sheet of paper down in half, and on the left you just write out all your stuff, regardless, no one's ever going to see this, you just write it out. And then on the right, you reflect on all of those things that you've just said, and you reflect on the truth of those statements. You think, no. I know what it was to be working all the time. This is better. I know what it was to not know my children. This is better. I know that I was harsh with them, but I can do better tomorrow. And most of the time I was good with them. And I should show you my bracelets. I don't talk about them that often, but I have mentioned them before. These are just rubber jelly bangles. And what I do is I transfer them over as good things happen throughout the day. And they can be good things between me and a friend, good things between me and my children. But those positive, enriching moments, I just switch them over. So my first bracelet is always when my husband kisses me before he goes to work. That was my first good moment of the day. And it moves over that bangle. And I used to use these bangles in a more punitive way with myself. When I would mess up, when I did something wrong, I would move over a bangle. And now, or when I yelled, I would move over a bangle. But now what I do is I shift them over for all the good things, and it makes me so aware of how many good things there are. There are so many more good things that you do, I'm sure, that you experience than bad in a day. And if you notice every single one of those, whether it's a beautiful flower you saw, or that hug from your youngest, or something you witnessed between your children that was beautiful, or anything, an episode of Friends that you liked that popped up on TV, something that was good that brought a moment of joy to your life, move it over, acknowledge it, be aware of it. I think it brings so much to your life. It is so much more of a present awareness of gratitude than just journaling gratitudes at the end of the night, because I think we have a tendency to think about only the best things and the most significant good things. I think it's so much more powerful in a way to recognize every single good thing, you know, like I love my duvet and we've had it for like 10 years. And, you know, when I make the bed, I move over a bangle because I'm like, I love this duvet, and that's a good moment. So I don't know how I got off track with this question, but I would just say that when you have negative thought patterns, remember to be gentle with yourself, to give yourself some grace, to be kind to that small animal of your soul, to treat yourself like a best friend. You know, that's my best advice there. And we all, you know, have our good days and our bad days where we forget to do that completely. But as always, you guys, I really do appreciate that Lisa includes me in her collabs. I think that this time period leading up to the election and the political unrest and the quarantine unrest and anxiety that we all have is a real thing. But I hope that we could all still be friends with each other regardless of our religious backgrounds, regardless of our political beliefs, because I think regardless of ideology and any of these invisible barriers, we can always see the good in each other. You know, we can always see moms loving kids. We can always see siblings loving each other and kids loving parents. And I think it is so important to cultivate friendships across the lines, because that is how a society moves forward. That's how we bring the most goodness to us all. And I really believe that with every fiber of my being. So Lisa, I so appreciate you including me in your collaborations in spite of our ideological and faith-based differences. I really, really, really appreciate you for that. And so be sure to check out her channel in the description box down below. Be sure to check out the playlist as well. As always, you guys, I so value your time. Thank you for spending some of it with me, and I wish you the very best day.